The sun beat down on Maria's face, making her already weary steps even heavier. Her large belly, swollen with new life, seemed to drag her down with every pace. She hadn't eaten a proper meal in days, and the gnawing hunger was a constant companion. Each house she approached felt like a mountain to climb. She clutched a worn shawl around her thin frame, trying to ward off the early morning chill that still lingered in the air. Maria's eyes, though filled with desperation, held a gentle light. She always offered a polite good morning or good afternoon, even when her stomach growled loudly enough to betray her need. At each door, she'd plead softly, "Excuse me, ma'am, sir. I'm expecting a baby soon and I haven't eaten in days. Could you spare even a small piece of bread?" Most doors remained closed, the curtains twitching slightly as she turned away, defeated. A few offered a curt no, or a shake of the head, their faces etched with suspicion or annoyance. But Maria never lost her grace. "Thank you for your time," she'd say, her voice barely a whisper, before moving on to the next house. She refused to let the rejection harden her heart. She believed that even in the most difficult times, kindness mattered. Somewhere, she hoped, there was someone who would see her not as a burden, but as a mother in need. The baby inside her deserved that much. Miles away, nestled in the rolling hills, stood the sprawling Lazy J Ranch. It was owned by John, a man as rugged as the land itself. John was known throughout the county as a ranch king, not just for his wealth and the size of his property, but also for his strong will and independent spirit. He'd built the Lazy J from the ground up, working sunup to sundown, weathering droughts and stampedes. He was respected, even admired, but few truly knew him. John kept to himself, his only companions the cattle and the loyal ranch hands who'd worked for him for years. Beneath his gruff exterior, however, beat a generous heart. He often donated anonymously to local charities and helped struggling farmers, but he did so without fanfare, preferring to keep his good deeds quiet. He'd learned early in life that showing vulnerability was a weakness, a lesson that had hardened him over time. His ranch house, a large stone structure, stood as a testament to his success, yet it felt strangely empty. The echoes of his boots on the wooden floors were a constant reminder of his solitude. He longed for connection, for someone to share his life with, but the walls he'd built around himself were difficult to tear down. He spent most evenings on the porch, watching the sunset, a solitary figure against the vast landscape, a king in his castle, but a lonely one indeed. One afternoon, Maria, driven by sheer desperation, found herself at the long, dusty driveway leading to the Lazy J Ranch. The house seemed enormous, almost intimidating. She hesitated, but the baby inside her gave a sharp kick, a reminder of her responsibility. She walked slowly, her steps faltering with each yard she covered. Finally, she reached the front door and knocked softly. John, who had been reviewing paperwork at his desk, heard the knock. Annoyed at the interruption, he strode to the door and flung it open. He saw Maria, her pregnant form silhouetted against the harsh sunlight. His first instinct was to dismiss her. He'd dealt with beggars before, and he didn't have time for sob stories. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice brusque. Maria swallowed hard, her voice trembling slightly. "Excuse me, sir, I don't mean to bother you. I'm expecting a baby, and I'm very hungry. I haven't had a proper meal in days." John's eyes narrowed. He started to say no, ready to shut the door, but something stopped him. It wasn't just her words, but the raw desperation in her eyes, the way she clutched her stomach, protecting the life within. He saw a reflection of his own mother in her, a woman who had struggled and sacrificed everything. He couldn't turn her away. "Come in," John said, stepping aside. He led her into the large, airy kitchen and gestured to a chair at the sturdy wooden table. "Sit down. I'll get you something to eat." He instructed the cook, Mrs. Henderson, to prepare a hearty meal. Soon, Maria was presented with a steaming bowl of stew and a thick slice of bread. She ate slowly at first, savoring each bite, then with increasing urgency as her hunger took over. John watched her, his expression softening. Once she had finished, he offered her a glass of water. "Now," he said, his voice gentler than before, "tell me your story." Maria hesitated, then began to recount her misfortunes. She spoke of losing her family to illness, of her job at the local bakery disappearing when the business closed, and of her desperate search for a safe place to deliver her baby. She had nowhere to go and no one to turn to. Her voice broke with emotion as she finished her tale, tears welling up in her eyes. John listened in silence, his gaze fixed on Maria. He saw the pain and resilience in her face, the strength that had kept her going despite everything. He felt a stirring of compassion, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. The walls around his heart began to crumble, just a little. After a moment of thoughtful silence, John spoke. "Maria," he said, "I can't imagine what you've been through. It's not right that someone in your condition should be wandering around, alone and hungry." He paused, considering his words carefully. "I have a spare room in the house. It's not much, but it's safe and warm. I could offer you a place to stay, at least until the baby is born." Maria looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise. "Sir, I don't know what to say. I couldn't possibly impose." "It's not an imposition," John insisted. "I could use a little help around the house anyway. Light chores, nothing strenuous. It would be a fair exchange." He knew Mrs. Henderson could handle the cooking, but having another woman in the house, it felt right. He quickly added, "You wouldn't be obligated to stay after the baby comes, of course. It's just a temporary arrangement." He didn't want her to feel trapped. Maria's face lit up with relief. "Oh, sir, that would be a dream come true. I would be so grateful. I promise to work hard and not be a burden." John managed a small smile. "Good. Then it's settled. Welcome to the Lazy J, Maria." He stood up, extending his hand. Maria took it, her grip surprisingly strong. For the first time in a long time, John felt a sense of purpose beyond the ranch itself. Life on the Lazy J Ranch was a world away from the harsh existence Maria had known. She had a comfortable room, regular meals, and the peace of mind that came with knowing she was safe. She quickly settled into a routine, eager to earn her keep. Mrs. Henderson, initially wary, soon warmed to Maria's gentle nature and willingness to help. Maria assisted with preparing meals, learning new recipes and sharing some of her own. She discovered a talent for baking, filling the kitchen with the aroma of fresh bread and pies. The ranch also had a small garden, which Maria took under her wing. She weeded, watered, and planted new seeds, her touch bringing the garden back to life. She spent hours tending to the vegetables and flowers, finding solace in the simple act of nurturing. She even helped with the animals, feeding the chickens, collecting eggs, and gently petting the horses. The fresh air and healthy food did wonders for her. The color returned to her cheeks, her steps became lighter, and the baby grew stronger. She felt truly alive for the first time in what seemed like forever. The worry lines on her face began to soften, replaced by a quiet serenity. The Lazy J was more than just a safe haven. It was a place of healing and renewal. As the weeks passed, a quiet connection blossomed between John and Maria. They began to spend more time together, sharing meals and conversations on the porch as the sun set. John found himself drawn to Maria's unwavering optimism and her genuine concern for others. He saw beyond her circumstances, recognizing the strength and kindness that radiated from within her. He started to open up to her, sharing stories about his childhood, his struggles to build the ranch, and the loneliness that had plagued him for so long. He realized that Maria wasn't just someone he was helping. She was becoming a friend, someone he could trust. Maria, in turn, began to see past John's gruff exterior. She observed his quiet acts of generosity, his dedication to his ranch hands, and the genuine care he showed for the animals. She saw the hidden heart beneath the rough exterior, a heart that had been wounded but not broken. She admired his strength and his unwavering work ethic, but also sensed his vulnerability, his longing for connection. She found herself wanting to ease his loneliness, to bring warmth and laughter back into his life. Their conversations deepened, moving beyond simple pleasantries to discussions about their hopes, dreams, and fears. A silent understanding grew between them, a bond forged in shared experiences and mutual respect. One evening, the sky turned an ominous shade of gray. The wind howled, rattling the windows of the ranch house. A storm was brewing, and it looked like a bad one. John, experienced with the unpredictable nature of the weather, immediately started preparing the ranch. He secured the barn doors, moved the cattle to higher ground, and made sure everyone was safe inside. The storm hit with full force. Rain lashed against the windows, and thunder shook the house to its foundations. Lightning illuminated the landscape in terrifying flashes. The wind tore at the trees, ripping branches from their trunks. The barn, where some of the younger animals were sheltered, began to groan under the strain. A section of the roof ripped away, exposing the animals to the wind and rain. John knew he had to do something, but venturing out into the storm was incredibly dangerous. Inside the house, Maria watched with growing anxiety. She worried about John and the animals. The storm seemed relentless, a force of nature that threatened to destroy everything in its path. She knew she had to be brave, not just for herself, but for the baby she carried. The storm was a complication neither of them had foreseen, testing their resilience and threatening the fragile peace they had found. The animals' terrified cries pierced through the storm's roar, heightening the sense of urgency. John grabbed his coat and hat, preparing to brave the storm. "Stay here, Maria," he ordered, his voice firm. "It's too dangerous." But Maria wouldn't hear of it. "I can help," she insisted, grabbing a thick blanket. "I may not be strong, but I can hold a lantern and guide you." John hesitated, knowing the risks, but he also saw the determination in her eyes, the unwavering desire to help. He knew he couldn't stop her. Together, they ventured out into the storm. The wind tore at them, and the rain blinded them, but they pressed on, guided by the faint beam of the lantern Maria held. When they reached the barn, they found several young calves shivering and scared. John worked quickly to repair the damaged roof, while Maria comforted the animals, wrapping them in blankets and speaking to them in soothing tones. Her calm presence helped to ease their fear. Working together, they managed to secure the barn and protect the remaining animals. Soaked to the bone and exhausted, they finally made their way back to the house, their hearts filled with a mixture of relief and gratitude. Maria had proven her worth, not just as a guest, but as a partner, someone who would stand by John's side, no matter the storm. John looked at Maria with newfound respect and admiration. A few weeks later, as the ranch recovered from the storm, Maria went into labor. The nearest doctor was hours away, and the storm had damaged the roads, making travel nearly impossible. John, despite his initial panic, knew he had to remain calm. He sent Mrs. Henderson to fetch hot water and clean towels, and then he stayed by Maria's side, offering words of encouragement and wiping her brow. He had never witnessed a birth before, and he felt utterly helpless, but he knew he had to be strong for Maria. Hours passed, filled with pain and exertion. John held Maria's hand, offering her sips of water and reminding her to breathe. He spoke softly, telling her stories about the ranch and the animals, trying to distract her from the pain. Finally, with a final push, a baby's cry filled the room. It was a girl, small but healthy, with a shock of dark hair. John, tears welling up in his eyes, carefully cleaned the baby and placed her in Maria's arms. Maria looked at her daughter, her face radiant with love. "She's beautiful," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. John, overwhelmed by the moment, could only nod. He had never felt such a profound sense of awe and gratitude. He had helped bring a new life into the world, and in doing so, he had discovered a part of himself he never knew existed. As Maria rested, exhausted but content, John carefully held the baby in his arms. He gazed at her tiny face, her delicate features, and a wave of emotion washed over him. It wasn't just gratitude or awe. It was something much deeper. He realized, with a sudden clarity, that he had fallen in love with Maria. He loved her kindness, her strength, her unwavering spirit. He loved the way she had transformed his lonely ranch into a home filled with warmth and laughter. He loved the way she cared for the animals and the garden. And now, holding her baby daughter, he knew that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, providing for them both, protecting them, and loving them unconditionally. The thought of Maria leaving, of returning to her life of uncertainty and hardship, was unbearable. He wanted to offer her a secure future, a loving home, and a life filled with happiness. He wanted to be a father to her child and a husband to her. He knew it was a bold decision, and he wasn't sure how Maria would react. But he couldn't deny the feelings in his heart. He had found something precious, something worth fighting for, and he wasn't going to let it go. His life had changed forever. The next morning, after Maria had rested, John sat beside her bed, his heart pounding in his chest. He took a deep breath and gently took her hand. "Maria," he began, his voice a little rough, "I know this might come as a surprise, but I need to tell you something." He looked into her eyes, his gaze filled with sincerity. "Since you came to the Lazy J, my life has changed completely. You've brought light and warmth into this house, and you've shown me what it means to truly care for someone. I've fallen in love with you, Maria." He paused, then continued, "I know I'm not the most eloquent man, and I know we haven't known each other for very long, but I want to ask you, will you marry me? I'm not just offering you shelter, Maria. I'm offering you my heart, my home, and a partnership. I want to spend the rest of my life with you and be a father to your daughter." He squeezed her hand gently. "I want us to be a family." He waited, his breath held captive in his chest, for Maria's response. He knew he was asking a lot, but he hoped with all his heart that she felt something for him too. The future of the Lazy J and his own happiness hung in the balance. Maria was stunned. John's words hung in the air, a mixture of shock and disbelief washing over her. She cared deeply for John. She couldn't deny that. She admired his strength, respected his kindness, and appreciated everything he had done for her. But marriage? It felt like a huge leap, a step she wasn't sure she was ready to take. She gently pulled her hand away from his, her brow furrowed with concern. "John," she said softly, I don't know what to say. I'm so grateful for everything. You saved my life and you've given my daughter a chance at a good future. But marriage, it's a big decision." She worried about the power imbalance between them. He was wealthy and powerful, a respected ranch king, while she was a penniless widow, dependent on his generosity. Could they ever truly be equals? She also questioned whether her feelings for him were strong enough to sustain a marriage. She cared for him deeply, but was it the kind of love that would last a lifetime? Was she simply grateful, or was it something more? She needed time to sort through her feelings, to weigh the pros and cons, and to make sure she was making the right decision, not just for herself, but for her daughter and for John. The weight of the decision pressed heavily on her. John understood Maria's hesitation. He knew that he was asking her to trust him, to believe in him, despite their different backgrounds and circumstances. He gently took her hands again, his gaze unwavering. "Maria," he said, his voice sincere, "I understand your concerns. I know I may seem like a powerful man, but that doesn't mean I want to control you. I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything." He continued, "I want a true partnership, Maria, based on love and respect. I want you to be my equal, my confidant, my best friend. I value your opinions, your kindness, and your strength. I don't want you to change who you are. I love you for who you are." He added, "And about your feelings, I know it takes time to build a lasting love. I'm willing to be patient, to earn your trust, and to show you every day how much I care for you. I just want the chance to make you happy, to give you and your daughter the life you deserve." He smiled gently. "Think about it, Maria. There's no rush, but please know that my offer comes from the heart. I truly believe we can build a wonderful life together, full of love, laughter, and mutual respect." He hoped his words had eased her worries at least a little. After several days of reflection, Maria made her decision. She knew that her feelings for John were genuine, a deep and abiding love that had grown stronger with each passing day. She trusted him, she respected him, and she knew that he would always be there for her and her daughter. She found John on the porch watching the sunset. She sat beside him, taking his hand in hers. "John," she said, her voice filled with love, "I will marry you." John's face lit up with joy. He pulled her close, hugging her tightly. "Thank you, Maria," he whispered. "You've made me the happiest man in the world." They planned a simple but heartfelt wedding on the ranch. The ranch hands and their families attended, along with a few close friends from town. The ceremony was held in the garden that Maria had brought back to life, surrounded by flowers in full bloom. Maria wore a simple white dress, and John wore his best suit. Their vows were heartfelt and sincere, filled with promises of love, respect, and unwavering support. As they exchanged rings, their eyes met, and they knew that they were embarking on a new chapter in their lives, a chapter filled with hope, happiness, and a love that would last a lifetime. The baby, whose name they decided would be Lily, slept peacefully through the ceremony. Maria embraced her new role as ranch queen with grace and enthusiasm. She didn't let the title change her. She remained the same kind and compassionate woman that John had fallen in love with. She saw her position as an opportunity to make a positive impact on the lives of others, both on the ranch and in the surrounding community. She took a genuine interest in the well-being of the ranch hands and their families, learning their names, listening to their concerns, and offering her support whenever she could. She organized social events, such as picnics and dances, to foster a sense of community and camaraderie. She also started a small schoolhouse on the ranch, providing education for the children of the ranch hands. In the community, Maria became known for her generosity and her willingness to help those in need. She volunteered at the local soup kitchen, organized fundraising events for the hospital, and visited the elderly in the nursing home. She used her skills in baking and gardening to provide fresh food for those who were struggling. Maria's kindness and compassion touched the lives of many, transforming the Lazy J Ranch into a place of warmth, hope, and opportunity. She was more than just a ranch queen. She was a beacon of light, illuminating the lives of those around her. She proved that even the smallest acts of kindness can make a big difference in the world. Under Maria's influence, the Lazy J Ranch thrived in ways John had never imagined. It wasn't just about profits and production anymore. It was about creating a sustainable and compassionate environment for everyone involved. Maria's gardening skills led to an abundance of fresh produce, which not only fed the ranch hands and their families but also allowed them to sell surplus at the local market, generating additional income. Her baking skills turned into a small business, with her pies and bread becoming a local favorite. She encouraged John to invest in new technologies and sustainable farming practices, improving the ranch's efficiency and reducing its environmental impact. She also helped him to build stronger relationships with local businesses and suppliers, creating a network of support and collaboration. But more importantly, Maria instilled a sense of pride and purpose in the ranch hands. They felt valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their ideas and skills. The ranch became a place where people wanted to work, not just for the wages, but for the sense of belonging and the opportunity to make a difference. John, watching Maria's influence, realized that true success wasn't just about wealth and power. It was about building a community, fostering compassion, and creating a legacy of kindness. The Lazy J Ranch had become a testament to the power of love, compassion, and collaboration. Years passed, and the Lazy J Ranch became a haven of love and laughter. John, Maria, and Lily were a true family, their bond unbreakable. One sunny afternoon, John, Maria, and Lily were sitting on the porch, enjoying the warm breeze. Lily, now a bright and energetic young girl, was playing with her dolls at their feet. John was reading a book, while Maria was knitting a sweater. The air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers from Maria's garden. The sound of children's laughter echoed in the distance, a testament to the thriving community on the ranch. John looked at Maria, his heart filled with gratitude. He had found a love he never thought possible, a partnership that enriched his life in every way. He smiled at Lily, his eyes twinkling with affection. She was the light of their lives, a constant source of joy and inspiration. Maria leaned over and kissed John on the cheek. "We're so lucky," she whispered. John nodded, his voice filled with emotion. "We are," he said. "We have everything we could ever want." They sat in comfortable silence, enjoying the simple pleasures of life, surrounded by love and happiness. The Lazy J Ranch had become more than just a ranch. It was a home, a sanctuary, a testament to the power of kindness, compassion, and love. Their happy family was a living proof that even from the darkest beginnings, a beautiful future could bloom. Remembering Maria's desperate plea for help, John and Maria decided to start a charity to support other pregnant women in need. They called it Lily's Hope, in honor of their daughter, who had inspired them to give back. The charity provided pregnant women with food, shelter, medical care, and job training, ensuring that no one else would have to suffer as Maria had. They reached out to local hospitals, churches, and community organizations to identify women who needed their help. John used his business acumen to manage the charity's finances and operations, while Maria used her compassion and personal experience to connect with the women and provide them with emotional support. They organized workshops on parenting, nutrition, and financial literacy, empowering the women to build a better future for themselves and their children. They also established a network of foster families and adoption agencies, providing options for women who were unable to care for their children. They wanted to ensure that every child had a loving and supportive home. Lily's Hope quickly grew into a successful organization, helping hundreds of pregnant women and their children each year. John and Maria's commitment to giving back inspired others to join their cause, creating a community of caring and compassion. They had turned their personal experience into a force for good, making a lasting difference in the lives of countless individuals. The story of Maria and John is a testament to the transformative power of kindness and compassion. It shows how a single act of generosity can change the course of a life, creating a ripple effect of hope and happiness. Maria's story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, kindness matters. Her unwavering spirit and her ability to maintain her grace despite facing immense hardship inspired John to open his heart and offer her a helping hand. John's story reminds us that everyone has the capacity for compassion, even those who seem hardened by life. His willingness to see beyond Maria's circumstances and recognize her inner strength led him to discover a love he never thought possible and to build a life filled with purpose and meaning. Their story shows that true happiness isn't found in wealth or power, but in the connections we make with others and the contributions we make to the world. It is a reminder that every act of kindness, no matter how small, can have a profound impact on someone's life. The tale of the starving mother-to-be who became a ranch queen teaches us that sometimes the most unexpected blessings come from the most unlikely places. It encourages us to be open to new experiences, to trust in the power of love, and to believe that even the most broken hearts can heal. It is a story of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary things that can happen when we choose to be kind.